Support for today's show comes from Bin 113. Looking to grow your winery's direct-to-consumer sales? Bin 113 leverages proven marketing expertise to help U.S.-based wineries like yours acquire and retain more customers. With over 100 years of combined experience, we make your D2C marketing as exceptional as your wine. Visit bin113.com to learn how we can help you sell more wine.
Prohibition just knocked this state out of the wine industry. There was wineries all over here before Prohibition. Everybody grew grape. You know, it was just a heritage that came to the area. The Italians, the Germans, it was a staple. So Prohibition kind of nixed everything. But it was the early 80s when New Jersey passed the Farm Winery Act, where you needed 3 acres and you in production, and you can open a winery. And that's when it kind of started revitalizing the industry. So in 2000, when we were licensed, we were the 18th winery that was licensed. And now I know there's well over 60 wineries.
Hello, Sandra.
Hi there. So
how are you today?
I'm good. Excited. So, we're going on a good journey to Jersey today.
I mean, I can't believe it. We're just traveling down the turnpike a little ways. This is very, very exciting. So here are a couple of probably little known facts about New Jersey wines. The first wines were produced in New Jersey in 1758.
That's crazy, isn't it?
So yeah, pre-Revolutionary War, which is kind of interesting. Currently, there are over 50 wineries in the state of New Jersey, and the state has become one of the top 15 wine-producing states in the country.
That's fabulous. All surprising information, really.
Yeah, it is, and to some extent it isn't, because you think about the fact that people cherish Jersey peaches and Jersey tomatoes.
Yeah.
Why not Jersey grapes?
Why not Jersey grapes? Exactly. Jersey tomatoes. That's a great comparison. You're right.
No question.
I'm excited to meet them.
One last thing is that there are 4 AVAs in the state of New Jersey, including the one that we're going to focus on today, which is referred to as the Outer Coastal Plain. And what makes that area special is the climate is very, very similar to the climate in Bordeaux.
Which is mind-blowing.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not the topography, but the climate. So that's going to be really interesting to hear what they have to say about that.
Exactly. So why don't we welcome our guests now?
Welcome. So excited to meet our new friends from New Jersey. Alan, why don't you introduce us all?
So we're very fortunate today to have Jim Quarella and David Gardner with us from Bellview Winery in New Jersey. Yes, I said New Jersey. So just so everybody knows, there are some amazing wines being made in New Jersey, and we're looking forward to hearing about them from these guys this morning. So Jim and David, welcome. It's great having you on the podcast, and we'd love for you to kind of kick it off. And each of you tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are now and how Bellview Winery became what it is today. So all you guys.
Okay, well, I'll get started. Hello, everybody. I'm Jim, and thank you for having us here today. So Bellview Farms started in 1912. No, actually 1914. That's where the original 20 acres were bought here, where the winery sits right now. The farm increased to 150 acres. So how Bellview came about, Bellview Winery came about is I'm 4th generation. We were a vegetable operation. I had grape growing here when I was like 16 years old. I'm a couple years older than that now, but had a couple of acres. I just enjoyed it. And, being back then, it was okay for me to make wine and, for the family and everything. And what was really good about it is I did it on my own. It wasn't like someone telling me how to do it. So I could read and, I had a good basis back then on making wine. Went to Delaware Valley University in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Got a bachelor's of science degree in horticulture and vegetable production. Came back to the farm and actually was taking over the farming operation at that time. So, and I also met my wife and starting a family. So before I knew it, I didn't even have time to grow grape and make wine anymore. But the passion was always there. So It was 99. It kind of rekindled the ideas, the thoughts. We were heavy in vegetable production, wholesale vegetable production. And I went to my wife, Nancy. I said, Nancy, what do you think about starting a winery? And she, like normal, she just kind of looked at me and said, well, if you want to. And that's how it started. In 2000, we put our first 3 acres of grape in. It was Chamberson, Chardonnay, and Cabernet Sauvignon. And within a couple of years, we had over 10 acres of grape, and tasting room was rolling. So we had to make a decision. So it was '02 was the last year did any vegetables.
Wow. So you converted completely to being a winery.
Yeah. So now we grow over 20 varieties on about 50 acres of the 150 acre farm. So we have quite a diverse selection of varieties that we grow. And part of it is really our industry is young here. Even though we've been doing this 25 years, you still are looking for the best variety that's consistent through the years. And we're getting there, but it'll take some time. As long as the weather doesn't keep changing as we keep changing, but
Right.
that's a given.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting that you would build it
right?
up to 20 different varietals in that area, and so it's really been a challenge, or to see what was going to be really grab on well into that area, what was going to be the most successful grape to be planted.
Yeah, and we have 20 varieties now, but there's actually a bunch that we've grown and decided that they weren't the correct fit for the area. So we've probably, I don't know how many have been planted.
I would say at least 10 other varieties.
Yeah. Wow. Tell us your entrance into this whole thing.
So very different entrance. So I was actually in school for music. I'm a musician, part-time now, but that's where I was, and just working, at a local dry cleaners. But I'm friends with Jim's oldest son, and they said, do you want to come see what the winery is about? So I came, started working here, was out in the vineyard for a few days before I don't know if it was my choice or Jim's choice, but he's like, let's try you inside. I think I may have been a little slow for vineyard work.
He thinks too much.
Yeah. But I've always been, science and math were really my strong subjects. Very interested in learning. So kind of started that in 2005, and then just slowly, kind of took over the production side of it and did winemaking. And really, it's been a lot of learning by doing mostly. There's a lot of book knowledge that there is. Doesn't necessarily apply all the time. So there's a lot of trial and error. Hopefully not that much error. Mostly the trial part of it. But yeah, Jim already obviously knew how to make wine. So it wasn't we weren't coming in from nowhere.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, Sandra, but guys, tell us a little bit about the New Jersey wine industry itself. Clearly, it's grown quite a bit in recent years. What's sort of your perspective on how it's doing and where it's at in 2025?
Well, it made Prohibition just knocked this state out of the wine industry. There was wineries all over here before Prohibition. Everybody grew grape. It was just a heritage that came to the area. The Italians, the Germans, it was a staple. So Prohibition kind of nixed everything. But it was the early 80s when New Jersey passed the Farm Winery Act, where you needed 3 acres and in production, and you can open a winery. And that's when it kind of started revitalizing the industry. So in 2000, when we were licensed, we were the 18th winery that was licensed. And now I know there's well over 60 wineries. And people are seeing the potential. Our biggest challenge is get people to taste our wines, because like Alan said in the opening, yes, I said New Jersey. We are the Garden State, but it's just people don't realize our potential here until they taste our wines.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
well, speaking of which, let's go into, we're very interested to taste your first wine. We do have a very brief commercial break that we want to go to, but when we come back, I want you to talk us through our first wine and the journey of this wine and how it got to be in the bottle. We'll be right back.
At Toomey, 50 years of innovation starts with you. Every zipper, handle, and wheel perfected to perform so you can perform. Day in and day out. Toomey, made for you since 1975.
Okay, we are back with our first wine, which is your Chardonnay. The Bellevue Chardonnay is a 2022 and Outer Coastal Plain. Here's your label. Could you talk us through and walk us through how this wine was made? The Chardonnay grape is probably, you know, a very successful grape to be grown in many, many areas all over the world. Great choice for where you are. Please tell us more about it.
So yeah, I'll start with the vineyard. The polar vortex, I'm sure everybody remembers that, came through in 1314. Well, that took out our Chardonnay. We lost 17 acres of grape during that. We had to replant. So it was actually to our advantage. Our first clone of Chardonnay was a really great producer, big bunches, but it really didn't have the flavor profile. So when we replant it with all the Dijon clones, which are smaller clusters of grape, a lot more flavor intensity in them. And we put in 3 different clones, and I apologize, I can't name the clones, but they've really benefited in our production. They're lower volume in the vineyard. And then, so that's our goal. I mean, that's why we're in a state winery. So we start from the beginning to the end with all our wines. Yep. So then we bring the grape in and let Dave go to work on it.
So Chardonnay is actually, it's a very common variety. I think possibly one of the most common, but you can do a lot with it. So this is really our only oak aged white, and mostly we use more neutral oak. So this is neutral-ish French oak. It still had some life in it, as you can taste.
Right.
But this specific Chardonnay, this was 2022, which was a very hot, very dry season. So this was actually picked way earlier than we normally pick. We picked on September 5th.
Explain to our viewers and our listeners the whole purpose behind picking it a little bit early.
So this was picked early because it could easily end up overripe,
right?
Which doesn't necessarily sound like a problem, but it is when you're trying to make a balanced wine.
Mm-hmm. You want to keep the acidity and keep the brightness in there, which this has. It's mouth watering when you take a sip, your mouth really waters. And on the nose, I'm definitely getting like that vanilla oak, but it's not over the top. But and I understand, it can be. Did you let malolactic go a little further? Did you, really give it a lot of body? I mean, this is a really nice full-bodied white.
Yeah. So this one actually, I had to actually add a little bit of tartaric acid. So tartaric is the main acid in grapes. Mm-hmm. I had to add a little bit because it was before that. Normally, I don't like to mess with it too much, but it was
because it was so hot that year, right? So the grapes got a little lusher.
So it's been about 8.5 months in French oak. And then it actually had the Viognier from the beginning. We added Viognier right before putting in barrel.
So explain what Viognier is to our listeners and how much Viognier did you add to this?
So this is 92% Chardonnay, 8% Viognier. Viognier is a kind of very aromatic, very peach apricot variety. Bland. Yeah, very flavorful and very strong aromatics. So that was really the reason. Is Chardonnay can end up a little bit less floral, a little more not bland, but it can use some help sometimes.
Right.
And Viognier is that help.
It's beautiful. I can smell the floral. I can taste the acidity and like the whole like baked apple and nice oak. But it's really like just a nice touch of that mallow kind of creaminess.
So this is the part of our episode where I remind Sandra and share with you that I'm historically not a Chardonnay lover. I kind of burned out on Chardonnays in the 1980s and find most of them to just be too round for me, too oaky, too buttery. What I like about this is it doesn't have that heaviness to it. It's got it's really drinkable. And what I'm wondering is can you share with us suggested food pairings, what you like to serve this with? Because I think, people always wonder, unless I'm just sitting on a beach drinking a glass of Chardonnay, what's best to serve with this particular wine?
So Alan, I'm with you. Chardonnay and Pinot Grigio were two wines that I never went for. And that's an advantage to us here, because if I got to taste them, they're going to taste like something I want to drink. So like our Pinot Grigio has a lot of flavor to it. It's not just a bland kind of wine. And you can see where our Chardonnay is. So, but as far as food, thinking about this one, I was thinking like a Caesar salad with chicken or a grilled shrimp salad. A lot of times you don't think about a wine with salad, but I think the Worcester's Rockefeller. And then probably finish off with any kind of poultry dish. I think it's just so versatile that it could go with all that.
Yeah, I think that the nice acidity in this wine would work well with like the cheeses and all of those dishes that you were talking about. That they're really, pair very well.
Yeah, I even think even cheddar, an aged cheddar, it's great. We have a lot of our whites are extremely good with seafood, but not from the bland perspective. Sometimes people say, yeah, it's good with seafood because they don't have as much flavor. Our Pinot and our Chardonnay and even our Gruner, fantastic with seafood.
That's Gruner.
That's exciting. I love that you're growing Gruners in New Jersey. That's wonderful.
So guys, a couple of things. Is it possible that your Chardonnay has won any awards or medals of late? Because I think they might have.
Yes, it is. So this we sent to the San Francisco Chronicle 2025 competition, and this was a double gold winner.
Wow!
Awesome.
San Francisco Chronicle. We don't do a lot of competitions, but the San Francisco Chronicle we feel is very
prestigious.
It's prestigious. They seem to do a very good job. We feel like it makes sense what the medal situation looks like. So we're very pleased.
If I had to make a comparison, and congratulations on that, because that's really stupendous. If somebody, if somebody's listening and they were wondering like, what is this wine? What this wine would remind me of, I'm getting a feeling of like a Russian River Valley kind of a Chardonnay. That to me is where I'm would reflect that this is what it definitely is reflective of. And it's beautiful. It's really lovely. And the more I smell it, the more I'm more enjoying it, Really lovely.
Yeah, I need some oysters to go with it.
I was going to say, that would be lovely. So guys, most importantly, we believe our listeners should try the Chardonnay, even if they're not Chardonnay lovers like Jim and myself. Where can they buy your Chardonnay?
If they go right to our website, bellviewwinery.com, we've got all the wines listed there. You'll see plenty. There's actually, I think we've got 5 or 6 whites that are all fantastic. But the Chardonnay, obviously, somebody else said it was fantastic too. You can go there and look at all our wines.
We'll have that. You know what? We're going to cut to our next little commercial break and come back and taste 2 more reds with you guys, which I'm excited about. We'll be right back.
Venue Magazine is timely and timeless. Contemporary art and design, food and wine, architecture, motoring, yachting, music and film, and more. Find it all at venuemagazine.com.
We're back with our next wine, which is the first of the 2 reds. And this is really interesting. This is Bellview 2020 Regent. And this is something that most people have never heard of. So please explain to us what the Regent is.
So, Regent, well, part of our philosophy here is sustainability. So when we look for a new variety, we look for something that has cool hardiness, that has a lot of disease resistance, so that's less inputs that you need in the vineyard, that matures early enough so we don't have to deal with the late season rains.
Mm-hmm.
And Regent is one, and it's grown a lot in Germany. I don't know if they call it Regent or Regent there, but it's a vinifera hybrid, so it's two vinifers that were crossed. There is a little bit of Chambourcin in there, which is mostly vinifera. And so we planted it here, and it's done really well for us. And it's one of those, every year, it's a consistent producer of quality. And the disease resistant is exceptional out there, and makes beautiful wines.
Yeah,
So,
explain now, what would you compare this to? I'm looking at it. The color is like medium ruby toned. On the nose, I'm getting like maybe a touch of clove and some red fruit. So is this more toward the Pinot Noir family or more toward a Cabernet family?
I'd say Pinot Merlot.
There you go. That's what I was thinking. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it doesn't have the cherry like your Cabernet Sauvignon would. It has your spices and your red fruits.
Yeah.
I think it's very versatile. Very food. Of course, my Northern Italian heritage, food is, wine and food. They're an absolute necessity in life.
Yeah.
And this is one of those ones that.
How long was this oaked?
So this was an oak for, I think it was 27 months.
Wow. It's soft. It's got a smoothness to it. I mean, this is delicious. It's got like that red fruit, but that nice smooth oak, and the finish is beautiful. It doesn't just disappear. And the acidity, it's like a really well balanced wine. This is I get it. Like between a Pinot and a Merlot, it's not as bright and not as bright as a Pinot, but it's not as soft as a Merlot. It's right in between. Really gorgeous.
Yeah.
So Jim, let's go back to your Northern Italian roots here. What would you serve this with?
This, I think you can be more of a gamey meat, like a lamb or a wild venison or something along that lines, or barbecue, a little smokiness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Anything
I would even do this with like duck with like a cherry sauce, just to kind of compare with the acidity and all. But it really has I'm getting a slight smokiness. I don't know if your barrels were toasted or anything, but it's really lovely. This is I want to say it's a unique wine, only because it's not very common to have a Regent grape. And when I think of a grape from Germany, I'm thinking that it's much cooler there. But so this is tolerant, like you said, to disease and the late wet weather that you get in New Jersey. But this is beautiful. It has an old world style to it.
Yeah, this normally we pick in September. So for a red, with this with the body and color and flavors, it's good if we can pick it in September.
Yeah, this was actually picked at the end of September, which is rare for Regent. But 2020, talking about what happens with certain weather, 2020 was a wet year. We actually only had a couple of our varietals because we're at a state winery. It's only our grapes. So some of the varietals we didn't make because they didn't stand up. The Regent stood up, but it took a long time because it was very almost aggressive. So that's why it spent so much time to calm it down. So the aging, got rid of some of the like more bitter aromas and transferred them into very nice spice kind of aromas. But it took a while. So this was one where, we tasted it and said, not yet, tasted it again, not yet. And eventually it was yet.
It was yet. What is the price point for retail for this wine?
I think Regent is at $22 retail.
Wow. That's a fantastic deal. Yeah, so this is a great bottle of wine.
So yeah, we're in the Outer Coastal Plain, South Jersey, and we want people to drink the wines. So we don't want to price people out. Obviously there is a cost to making wine, but we want people to have it. We want them to drink it and say, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to drink it too.
Do you find when people visit the tasting room or attend one of your many events that the Regent requires some explanation to people who are not familiar with it? And I assume that once they've sampled it, it becomes a staple for them.
Yeah, it does. It's similar to Gruner, where people don't know it. You have to tell them about it. So it's not going to be. There's no Regent section at the liquor store.
No,
it's not. So it's not. It does take some work, but when somebody tastes it, it's very different. It's very very herbal. So it grabs you there, and then the flavor is just really nice. So
beautiful oak, beautiful red fruit, really nice herbal, food friendly. This is like an all over wonderful food friendly wine. I want to move over to the next one, which is another. You guys are really going out there and pushing our limits here. The San Marco from Bellview. This is a 2022. So I'm sure there's another great story and explanation of why you chose to do this one in your beautiful area.
Yeah, well,
wow, and the color is completely different than the other one. I mean, this is, just to jump in, this is like dark magenta. Incredible nose, please.
Even on the worst years, it still has this color. So that's so. The history of San Marco. Our good friend through the years, another great grower who has become a business partner of ours in the last couple of years. He was over in Italy, and he developed a relationship with Foundation Edmund Mock, which is a university breeding facility, like we have here in the States. And there, the breeder, Marco Stefanini, was crossing Toronto and Lagrigne, looking for wine quality and sustainability, disease resistance. So we imported 3 different varieties from his breeding program, put them through quarantine, UC Davis, got them in the field. Well, the San Marco is the one that's shined. We also have a white coming on called Trentina that you'll see shortly. So this is across the Toronto and Lagrigne, two of the best reds in northern Italy, and it's just been doing great for us. It's another one of brand new varieties. Going back to where we have all these different varieties, I use the term, I don't like chasing people's tails. So, I'd rather put something out there that's unique that people can come and really try than to do the same old thing everybody else is doing. Besides, I get bored.
Even just on the nose, this, again, the color is deeper. The nose is richer, like darker red fruits, like the black fruits. And then I'm not getting so much oak on the nose of this, but I know this must have been oak aged.
So interestingly, I was nervous about this wine when we first were bottling, because the oak actually was very strong. This was more new oak than we use in pretty much any wine, because we're establishing a new variety, right? So the first year I used very neutral barrels, and it was good. It was very good, but that was just to see what the wine is without doing anything. Then following, we used newer French oak. It came on a little stronger than I expected, a little quicker. But after bottling, it has really calmed down, and it's really integrated well. So very happy with this. This is actually a blend between our vineyard, so the Bellview Vineyard, and Koya Vineyards, who is the business partner. So, so he picked his, and then we picked ours. We've fermented them separately, and then they actually aged separately until I think they aged for about 18 months, and then blended the two. We did some parameters, and then they aged for another 5 months, and that's when we bottled.
So interesting. So is the other vineyard, Koya, very close by Bellview?
A couple miles, 3 miles, maybe.
Okay, so same weather. You're not going to have any kind of variances based on distance or
No.
anything like that.
And our vineyard practices are the same. We work back and forth. So
Right, right.
That's
And there is a
beautiful.
difference there was a difference between the two when he blended them, but it's not really, no, it's not a night and day difference.
Okay.
It's something that I think brings in more character.
So
Similar.
now,
Yes.
I'm a little nervous to ask this question once again, but because now I feel like I'm making a lot of different courses tonight and serving 3 different wines. Jim, you're up. You and I love this food thing.
yeah, I was thinking of bolognese sauce with some fresh pasta.
Oh,
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Because the tannins are these are silky tannins. They're not rough. These are like nice soft tannins that would be so beautiful with a bolognese. Absolutely.
Yeah, I haven't had it.
Again, dark fruit. It's so good. What was that, Dave?
I was going to say, I haven't had it in a while and I just tasted it and it's pretty
Right?
good.
It's really good. It's got like that nice the tannins are there, but they're just silky. It's I love that. I hate when the tannins are so rough that it rips up your mouth. Like these are like they're going to go beautifully with protein and tannin. But
And
the richness
there.
of the berry, yeah, the richness of the
They're
berry would
there.
go great.
But not aggressive. You can see, and I
Right.
think we don't have the longevity yet. I think it's going to age pretty nice.
I think
Obviously we only have a 20, a 21, and a 22, so we don't have the time yet.
Yeah,
Just amazing, all 3 of them. So practically speaking, you guys are located in an area that is surrounded by New York, Philadelphia. You have a lot of big population centers. How do people find find you and tell us a little bit about the winery experience when people arrive and what they can look forward to. I've been there, so I know. But it's one of the things I'll share is Jim, you have an amazing wall of photographs of the 4 generations of your family that have farmed the land, and that alone to me is worth a visit. But tell us a little bit about what people can expect and where they can find you.
Okay. Well, as you said, there's a lot of family history here. There's a lot of pride in family here. And so that's how we set our environment at the winery up. We want you to feel like family when you come here. So it's very comfortable. And our setting is the vineyard's right there. And turn the camera around. The vineyard is right there. It's a nice seating area out here, picnic tables. We're inside the veranda, so you have inside seating room. But as you come in, we do flights. We do special tastings. There's 2 different tastings you can do. A traditional tasting. We also have our library tasting. We found that our wines are aging very well. 10 years old for the reds they're even better. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I wouldn't. I know we're a new area, but I wouldn't be afraid of putting these wines down for 10 years and not even looking at them.
Beautiful. I imagine as the weather gets nicer, you probably have some fun events at the vineyard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So we've got a lot of space. This property here is 20 acres. There's another 130 acres. That's just the farm part of it. But we've got grapes, on the edge of the property, but we have a lot of space in here for our spring fling that's coming up in April. We've got, even Mother's Day. We've got, smaller event, but we can fill up 200, 300 people coming out.
I'm a mom. I'll come.
So, and then we have our seafood festival in August. That's a big deal.
Oh yeah.
We can have 1,200, 1,500 people a day.
Wow. Wow, that's great.
All over. And New York, Philly, we do get people coming from there for those events. And then we have a Fall Fest, and we've got some smaller events. So yeah, we've got quite a bit of things to do.
So yeah, our biggest challenge is just to get the people here and get them to taste our wine. It's that's what we strive to do. We get out as much as we can, pour wines.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you both and to taste these beautiful wines. Like they really are the Regent, the San Marco, completely unique and a new experience for many of us American wine drinkers. And well done. They're gorgeous. And your award-winning Chardonnay was just beautiful. I really, really thank you for sharing them with both of us. But this was a pleasure.
Absolute pleasure. Let's remind our listeners, BellviewWinery.com, both in terms of being able to purchase these wines directly. You do ship to many states, not all, but certainly check that out. And then also the website will give you a pretty good idea of location and how to get to and what the upcoming events are. I think the event calendar is up to date and goes through the summer season for sure. And I'd like to just echo what Sandra said, guys. It was an absolute pleasure having you on the episode today, and thank you for making such wonderful wine. I can't wait till dinner this evening. I got to figure this all out now. Jim, you've created a massive issue for me.
It's a good one.
A lot of cooking to do.
Get that bolognese going.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ciao. It was
guys.
so lovely to meet you both. And I'm coming for Mother's Day.
Wow.
What a surprise, huh?
Well, I kind of knew what we were in for because I know these guys fairly well, and I've tasted their wines before, and I knew about the awards. By the way, they've won awards not just for the Chardonnay, but for a number of their other varietals. So not just the San Francisco Chronicle awards. They've won New Jersey as a Governor's Cup, and they won some Governor's Cup awards. In fact, there was a video that I saw on Instagram earlier this week of Jim and David with Governor Murphy of New Jersey accepting their Governor's Cup. They said it. This is, I think, world-class wine. The challenge for them is that people don't think of New Jersey
To visit vineyards.
They don't. It's, you think about the big four of California, Oregon, Washington, and New York, and even like a Virginia and now a Texas, which has got such a massive number of wineries. People aren't really thinking about New Jersey. This is also a great location. If you're down the Jersey Shore for a weekend and you get a rainy day and you're trying to figure out what to do.
Just a fun afternoon event. Yeah, absolutely. And
And
the wines are not going to disappoint. These are really beautiful. I mean, that Regent was so interesting. It was so interesting to taste it, and the color was beautiful. I really enjoyed these. What a pleasure.
I almost thought of that as being similar to a Syrah in some regard. And I just think very, very drinkable. So remember, guys, BellviewWinery.com.
Yep.
Check it out. You won't be disappointed. Sandra, as always, it was a joy. And listen, we're going to go to another state, actually recording later today, and we know where that is, but you don't. So be sure to listen in so you can hear about this one.
Please remember to subscribe to Wine Across America on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube.